Hello everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm reaching out to you with a very important message, and this video is directed primarily to vegans, vegetarians, and all those of you who have compassion for animals, whether you're fully vegan or not. It's not only dedicated to you, it's dedicated to everybody who is interested in this topic and who might experience some difficulties during the Christmas time when you're going home to meet your families, and specifically when you're going home to your non-vegan family and you might be sitting at a non-vegan table. And I want to talk about my experience with being vegan, and being sometimes in environments that are not fully vegan, how I handle that, because I think there are so many of us right now who are working through so many emotions sitting at the table, knowing that somebody is going to or might be going to eat meat or dairy in front of you, and you knowing that animals were not only killed for that, but also the circumstances under which they were living and how they were treated while they were alive are just like unbearable. And during this time of the year, I would like to feel the way that I was feeling as a child when I was not really understanding what was going on and what we were actually eating. But I know that I have evolved from that, and I have grown strong enough to face the truth and to face the reality of how we are currently treating animals. And it can be just very difficult to deal with the emotions that are coming up when you are sitting at a table with your loved ones and they are not really, they might not be open to hear why you're vegan. They might be open to hear it, but they might still eat meat or dairy or eggs. Or maybe they are open and it's still difficult because they're not fully understanding where you're coming from. And I'm very fortunate this year. I managed to speak with my family, and we are organizing a Christmas day or Christmas lunch that is mostly vegan, for the exception, I think, of just one single cake where there's going to be probably dairy and egg in it, but that's not even from our family directly. It's somebody who's joining us at a table. So I'm very, very fortunate that I have managed to speak with my family, and they are understanding why I'm vegan every single day a little bit more. But it also took a lot of emotional introspection, or a lot of just introspection in general, to see what is the story that I'm telling myself and where am I holding myself back, where can I make more of an impact. So in this video I'm gonna share about my experience, and I want to cover two main points. The first one is how to soothe yourself when you're feeling like shit because you feel that you're not doing enough for the animals, or you're not making enough of an impact, and you're feeling just maybe guilty. Maybe you're also just feeling down, not because you're not making the impact that you want to, but simply because of the circumstances that we are having in our current reality. And how to manage to go within yourself and soothe yourself throughout this period where you know that there's probably just a mass slaughter happening for Christmas. And that's at least how it feels for me when I'm thinking about so many people putting a lot of meat on. It's actually meant to be a celebration of love, and for me, thing with love. But I understand that because of the way that society is programmed, many people do not see that. And the second point that I want to talk about is, and I can really feel that my heart is opening, and also the pain that I have been working through is present. And I'm so happy to be able to share that with you. So I'm really excited about this video. It's coming from the bottom of my heart. I can really feel that. And the second point that I will talk about, okay, if my battery allows for it, is how to make more of an impact. Because once you've worked through your pain, and once you're able to hold it and not to spiral down, but to really be truthful, then you can make a bigger of an impact. And it's challenging, especially at the beginning. It's challenging because I think at the beginning when we're going vegan, or even later on, we have so many limiting beliefs and so many thoughts of how people will react when we talk to them, or even we are reacting while we're talking to people. We are reacting to the meat on the table, to the dairy on the table, because you're not seeing meat, you're seeing the animal, and you're seeing the slaughter and the pictures that are really traumatizing. So because I don't have too much time, I want to make sure to cover everything, which is impossible, as much as possible. Let's get started. And the first point is, I really want to acknowledge all of our pain that we're currently going through as very sensitive beings. As I said, you don't have to be vegan to be sensitive, absolutely not. I imagine that if you are vegan, you're feeling the pain very, very, very much, because the sensitivity has led you to be vegan in the first place, or vegetarian. From my perspective, going vegan is really the most genuine follow-through when you're seeing the animal mass slaughter, factory farming, all the suffering that is happening. But I know that people might be watching that who are not yet vegetarian or not yet fully vegan. So I want to include all of you, because I know your heart understands that we are able to do better. So for all those of you who are feeling with the animals, and not only with the pets, but really with the animals that I'm speaking about in this. In German we call it Nutztiere, the animals that we are using for food. I think it's so important for us to acknowledge the pain that is coming up when you're becoming aware of this mass slaughter, factory farming, all the circumstances that are horrible for animals, to allow yourself to feel that, because I think we're easy to go into judgment and into frustration about all the people around us that might not be aware of it, and that might not be open to listening, or they might still eat meat or dairy or eggs. It's very easy to go into judgment and frustration, and I totally get that, because, well, once you have seen what's happening, and once you have also changed your behavior and your eating habits, and in general what you are buying or what you're investing your money in, and you're starting to exclude animal products, you can become, and it's understandable that you might become judgmental of what others are doing or not doing. And while this is totally understandable, I would love for you to allow yourself, instead of going into judgment, to feel the pain that you're actually in, because we're only becoming judgmental because that's how I feel. We're frustrated with all the pain and all the suffering that we're seeing, and when we're feeling powerless to change it, because people might not be listening, people might have, understandably so, they might have some resistance to looking at the footage. It can be so freaking frustrating, and our mind can go into this defensive mechanism of judging others. But remember that people are not behaving that way because they're bad, and I know sometimes maybe that's hard to believe, but they're not behaving that way because they're bad people. They're behaving that way because there is some resistance in the way. And sometimes people can become more open when we're speaking to them in a calm way, or in just maybe not even calm, maybe just a way that resonates with them. I mean, I've spoken this year to so many non-vegans and non-vegetarians who were open to speaking about this topic. Some people made a choice to tap into vegetarianism or even veganism, and it's made me so happy. But the point here is, I have been talking to so many people who are not vegan, and everybody has a different way how they can receive the message. And people will start to make a change once they understand what you're talking about. Some people need a bit of a more calm energy to talk about it. Some people need to be challenged, and maybe it's okay to speak a bit more, to be a bit more on point, and to be a bit more straightforward and a bit more direct. And I'm going to talk about how to speak to non-vegans or how to speak to non-vegans in a what I have experienced. I'm going to talk about my experience that I gathered from speaking with non-vegans a bit later. But first off, I want to say, acknowledge your pain. It's not easy, and it's important that you go into it anyway, because when we're judging, we're all up here in our heads, and we cannot really impact as much as we would like to if we are all wrapped up in the story in our minds. So we need to come and feel our own emotions so that we can start to soothe ourselves, we can start to show up for ourselves, and then we can start to encourage ourselves and tell us, I know it looks very, very difficult, and maybe I might feel like, maybe you might feel like you're powerless when you look at the circumstances, and maybe you feel like a victim to the situation. But remember, once you're working through the emotions, and that's what you need to tell yourself, you're gonna be able to make more of an impact. You're gonna be able to communicate more effectively in time. It takes practice, it takes courage, it takes showing up, it takes working through your own triggers with veganism and with other people, and it takes belief. And we need to soothe ourselves and start believing in the reality where we are living a more compassionate life towards all beings. And this reality is possible. Every day, more people are turning vegan, or more people are choosing a more plant-based diet. Even if they're not vegetarians or vegans, they're choosing to live a more plant-based life. The supermarkets here in Germany are full of vegan stuff. It's incredible at which rate the offerings and services are increasing, and this shows that the demand is increasing, that people start to understand that veganism is a very, very valid option. The best option from my perspective, but it's a very, very valid option also for people who, who might not be so aware of what's going on within the factory farming. So soothe yourself, encourage yourself, show up for yourself. I think when it comes to veganism, doing inner child work and saying affirmation is as powerful and as important as in any other area. So you can simply check out my emotional healing playlist or the videos on my channel and start applying the tools that I'm teaching to start applying them to your veganism. I'm doing that, and I'm experiencing amazing results, and I will keep on doing that, and I will keep on talking more about manifestation when it comes to veganism. Now, the second point that I want to share with you is how to make more of an impact. So once you have worked through your emotions, once you have started to look at the story that you're telling yourself and the emotions that are coming up for you when confronted with animal abuse, you're going to be each time more able to make an impact, because you are moving from lack into abundance. You're moving from running away from your emotions and projecting your own feelings onto others into the ability to hold your emotional space and talk to somebody else effectively in a very conscious way. And this is going to happen simultaneously, so you're always going to keep on working through your emotions, and you're always going to increase the impact that you're making. So those are not separate from each other, but really impacting each other, those two topics of reflecting on your journey and impacting others. And what I find to be extremely effective is to simply be radically honest around my own emotions. You don't need to convince others, because others know and feel that killing animals and abusing animals is not right. And other people also know that factory farming is wrong. And I think more and more people come to the understanding that a cow is not so much different from a horse, or a pig is not so much different from a dog or a cat. Those animals are as worthy of a healthy, happy life as other animals are, and we should not mistreat them in the way that we are doing. And people know that, and there lies the power of the situation, because you don't need to come from your ego when you're talking to someone. When you're coming from a place of trust, of love, and of honesty, you're gonna see people shift. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to filter out my own frustration, in a sense that I might be honest about the frustration that I'm feeling or the pain that I'm feeling, but I'm trying not to project it onto other people and guilt them. I'm trying to be honest about what I'm feeling, sharing that I feel pain when I'm thinking about animals being killed for me to eat, put them on the Christmas table. I'm feeling pain when I'm seeing others eat meat or dairy. I'm feeling pain when I know that calves are separated from their mothers. I'm feeling pain when I think about how we are treating animals. And I started to become more honest about that rather than trying to people please in a sense that I'm hiding what I'm going through and what impact the footage that I have seen had on me emotionally. I'm not trying to hide it so much anymore. I mean, I'm trying to be very conscious of what I'm sharing with who, because I do not want people to get defensive. So I'm really, really trying to find a sweet spot on how much can I share with someone so that they stay open to my message. And I try to really find a good sweet spot, and sometimes just being very honest about yourself while being also empathetic about the other person and aware where the other person is. For me, that feels like a very, very potent way of communicating. Yeah, because I'm not just shouting at a person, telling them all about how I feel, so in the hopes I change them. But I'm also not people-pleasing in a sense that I am not talking about my feelings and I'm actually hiding so that I don't make them uncomfortable. So what I'm doing is I'm finding the sweet spot. How uncomfortable can I be so that you are... Because it's really important that we do not disconnect from other people when we're communicating with them, because we're losing them in the process. It's not good for the relationship, and we shouldn't try to change other people. I think what's really, really impactful is when you know internally the world is gonna shift and we're gonna bring more compassion to this world, and we are starting already to make huge changes. And when you come from the inner knowing that the world is going and moving towards veganism more and more each day, and when you're coming from the inner conviction that people are compassionate and people are willing to make changes once they understand, and you don't need to try and manipulate anything, you just need to be honest and need to also set your boundaries, how much you're willing, to take in. I'm not so willing anymore to sit at a table where meat is being served. And I'm just honest about that boundary. It's about self-respect, it's about respect for the animals, and when you are being honest about where you're at, and when you are facing your truth, how comfortable or uncomfortable you feel in certain environments, and when you're communicating that, you're gonna see shifts happen. I know I was rambling now a bit in the last few minutes, but I hope it still makes sense to you. If not, put your questions in the comments and I'm gonna answer them. But basically what I'm saying is, when you face the pain that you have been going through, that you are going through, because of the footage that you've seen or because of the suffering that you know exists within animals, when you're being honest about that, you're gonna probably start to set some boundaries here and there where you're like, honestly, I'm not willing to sit at a table where meat is being served every single day. Like, for me, that's stressful. It would be just very, very stressful. And I know that other people have different beliefs, so I'm willing to compromise and willing to, understand where other people are at. So when other people are eating differently, I'm not trying to control them, but I also know that, I'm stressed when people are eating meat or dairy all the time. So I'm being very mindful of how much I'm exposing myself to environments like that. Not because I'm judging the people, simply because of the effect that it has on my own mental health. And this opens, when you're being open about that and honest about how you're feeling, this opens the opportunity for other people to try and understand you, even if they don't understand it completely at the beginning, but it gives them the opportunity to step up and say, you know what, I understand that this is stressful to you, and I'm gonna meet you in the middle somewhere. I'm gonna try to, I'm gonna be open to having a vegan or vegetarian meal when you're around. And this helps people shift, it helps you shift, it helps you start to bring awareness and start to make a change by being honest. And this requires you to trust that this mission is increasing, that people are becoming more aware, that people are inherently compassionate, that people need to heal. We all need to heal from this traumatizing cruelty that is going on and that was going on for centuries. And I'm not talking only about animals. People have been and still are cruel to each other and to themselves. So we need to see this as a holistic healing process, and we need to be open about shifts to happen. Allow yourself to be open. I mean, I have been surprised how my family has been stepping up since I've been vegetarian and vegan, and I am making requests, and I do have some expectations, but mostly I see that my family, my friends, they're open to speaking about this, and they're open to making changes even in their own lives because they understand what this is about. And your environment will too. Every person is different. So don't get mad when people do not, make changes in the way that you did that. Don't try to be controlling, and I know it can be difficult when you're like, you know what, it's hard to stand. It's hard to look at this. But try and come from this place of inner trust and understanding that you are making an impact with your honesty, with your boundaries, with your beliefs, with your compassion that you bring, with the awareness that you create. Yeah, by not hiding who you are, not hiding what you've seen, but also not pushing it onto others in an unhealthy way. There's a sweet spot, and you can find that. And you know when you're honest to yourself, because when you're people-pleasing, it's going to feel very, very different from being compassionate. You can be compassionate and still challenge people's perspectives in a very loving, compassionate, but honest way. I would love to talk so much more about this topic, but I think that's enough for today. I was so wrapped up in what I was talking about. I think I was not fully calm today. But this message is like, it just holds so much energy for me. And I wanted to just send a message to all those of you out who are in the same situation as I am. You can be so proud for yourself for showing up for the people who are in some ways different from you, and for keeping on believing in this, I don't even know how to call it, in this mission of what we are believing in. And now I'm rambling again. For believing in this, in the vegan mission of bringing compassion to all beings. You can be so proud of yourself for holding the space for this pain to be healed, for creating awareness, for making a change in your own life, for impacting others. Thank you so, so much. I'm so thankful that you exist. And now I wish you Merry, Merry Christmas. Oh, I forgot one thing. If you haven't been making requests, then start making them. People can say yes, people can say no, but I started to make requests in my own family. I asked, can we have a vegan Christmas? I asked it. I had a conversation with my family. And sometimes you're going to be surprised how willing people are to make changes. So do not assume. Try it out for yourself. Stay open. You're going to be surprised. And now I wish you very Merry Christmas.